Our Suzuki starting grid for the 250 main event will not include, at the gate anyway, number 5, Steve Lamson. Had a bad crash in practice. A knee injury, also popped the lip pretty bad, but he had his problems during qualifying, just couldn't come back. We'll have to see the extent of those injuries later.
Well, you can see now that watery hard pack condition has turned into a little more of a mucky situation, but still they're not going to have to contend with ruts. It's just going to get very slick out there, and they're going to try to have to keep the bike out of all that standing water and just make sure they finish the main event.
Jeremy McGrath looks at all kinds of milestones. One win, of course, tying the all-time career record of 28. 2 wins in the last 4 races, of course. He would be the sole possessor of that record.
You see how clean all those guys are? Well, that's going to change in about 5 seconds now.
They'll be disguised in mud, and we'll have trouble identifying the numbers probably as they're off. And Jeremy McGrath, a great start. Todd DeHoop on his right. Craig, Kedrowski, Emig, all in good shape. Let's check out the turn.
Look at McGrath. Sneaks around the inside and stays clean. And then Emig comes by and gives him a face full of mud.
Oh, there's Craig going off the track under the Dunlop sign.
Usually you go off the track and it's slicker. I don't think it's any slicker tonight. Our riders are down everywhere. And you can see right there. Look at that rider. How can he even see through those goggles?
That was Roy, and he took Lawrence with him. 111 is Albertine. He's down. It's really who can stay up. That's Henry spinning out.
Well, it's just difficult because it's so slick, and then if you put your foot down and try to keep your balance, your feet slide out from under you, and that's just even more difficult. Try to pick the bike back up and get going again. That's kind of funny. The 2 riders right there, John Dowd and Doug Henry, both these riders won their first big pro races in the mud.
Well, there goes Albertine again. We saw Kedrowski also playing in the mud. And our leader right now is Todd DeHoop out of Michigan.
Well, these kind of conditions play in the favor of riders that don't normally shine up there. The conditions are so much different. It really doesn't take guts to ride on this. It just takes just being patient and just delivering that power real slow so the back end doesn't get away from you.
So Todd DeHoop is leading his first main event this season.
Look how clean he is. You can imagine, you can see how clean all of his riding gear is. You can imagine his vision probably still looks pretty good. Look at all the guys behind him. They're just covered in mud.
DeHoop, Swink, Emig, Ward, and Henry. That is our top 5.
Right here, you heard McGrath's mechanic talking about trying to keep water out of the airbox. If water gets in there, it gets into the carburetor, the throttle can stick. And right there, look at these guys banging bars, the Honda and Troy riders.
Swink on the right on your picture, and DeHoop going wide. Oh, it's tough to get that momentum started once you stop down.
Well, it's kind of an interesting choice right there. Swink tried to turn on the off camber of that jump and try to build his speed back up, and it worked, but I like the line of DeHoop. I think he can do that every time. Go out there and use that bank and try to keep your momentum up everywhere. Once you try to build it, you grab a handful of throttle and all you get is wheel spin.
Here's Larry Ward in 4th spot, and going down is Emig. Ward moving into 3rd with Henry right behind him.
Look at that flagger. He can't even stand up out there. It's going to be impossible for Emig to get out of that situation. He's going to lose a lot of time.
Larry Ward, and I don't know if he started that way, but he's already discarded his goggles.
Well, sometimes you have to. He probably didn't have a choice. He's still jumping the double right there. He looks pretty good. Problems for can't even identify who that is, but with Larry Ward, without his goggles, if he gets mud in his eye, what's he going to wipe it with? So he's got a lot of problems to contend with.
Honda of Troy leaders up top 1 and 2. A little bit of mud, Texas mud here at Texas Stadium. The 250 main event on the 12th stop of the U.S. Supercross Tour. Todd DeHoop is our leader right now, but Doug Henry, after spinning out in the first lap, is pursuing DeHoop.
Henry was reaching up, pulling his roll-offs across, trying to get some clear vision.
Whoa! Henry triples in the mud. Picks up the deficit now on DeHoop. They are side by side. It's who picks the best rut, and it's Henry.
And look at Henry jumping his way through everything, doing the triple. He's going to have clear vision now. You see, he elected to stay out of that rut. Where DeHoop dropped down in there, a lot of times that gets deeper and deeper, and you can throw the chain. So Henry riding smart right now. So
Doug Henry now is out on top looking for his very first 250 Supercross victory. A little early to tell in this muck.
Well, I like the way Henry looks right now. He doesn't seem to be slowed down by the rain at all. Still doing the triple. It's some kind of a hand gesture to his mechanic there. Probably wondering what place he's in. He might not even know because he crashed in the first lap It was way back in the pack. Here's a look at McGrath, who also crashed early in the race and is working his way back up through the pack.
Yeah, Jeremy on the first lap went down. In fact, he went down twice and was in 17th place. Well, now he's moved up to 7th.
I think right now Jeremy does have a pretty big lead in the Supercross series, but he could easily DNF this thing. So, you know, I don't think he's going to be too worried about getting a 4th or a 5th. Just try to finish this thing and get some more points.
And David, remind me to personally thank Wes McCoy for putting that peacock cardboard number up there on top of his helmet. Easy to witness, that's for sure. Todd DeHoop is the only other rider in the race with a similar type of design.
Here comes Henry again, looking at the triple. Still jumping the triple.
Jan Beekes is out in the elements with Pete Steinbreaker.
Pete, your man has gone to the front, but obviously pit boards are not going to do you much good today.
No, but I was thinking about grabbing one because it's not raining too hard. I'd like to just tell him to ride the outside lines, and that's going to be the place where it's going to get the most traction.
So what happens? The water runs to the center, and then there's more traction on the higher outside. Is that it?
Well, what it is, you know, you got a bank to slide into, and it'll slow you down, and it'll eventually get you turned in the right direction.
Well, right now, it looks like he doesn't need much help.
Well, gosh, you know what? This race, this type of racing, one little mistake, you're sliding around. I think you saw that in the 125 race with Hoffman, and you're doing donuts. So we'll see if Doug can keep it up on 2 wheels, and if he can, he just might win it once.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well, I think Henry missed not having that pit board out there just for a companionship. They're used to it.
Well, they're used to it. His mechanics over there signaling with fingers, and it's probably hard for him to even figure out which one's his mechanic.
And when we saw that whoops area not long ago, it's an obstacle course with stalled riders.
Sure, you got to pick a line around everybody and dodge the water holes, and it's just difficult. You know, this really becomes survival. Now Jeremy's doing the triple and taking his hand off, clearing his vision in the air.
Well, now Jeremy's riding pretty loose.
Well, you know what it comes down to in the mud races, it's just the riders that have the most fun out there. And right now we're going to get a look at our Honda stopwatch and check the interval from the leader back to DeHoop, who's still running in 2nd place. And it's the riders that have the most fun and just go out there and get loose and get into the flow of riding it. You're stuck out there. You've got to ride in it. And the more aggressive you can be and throw the bike into the corners and get on the power hard, the more you dig down past that slimy stuff and find some traction.
Only about 8 seconds between 1st and 2nd place.
Right now, right there in the little bit of blue that you can see is John Dowd, who's also an excellent rider in the mud. Oh, big mistake by Dowd, but he holds on to it.
A battle for 2nd place. DeHoop, not that tall. You pointed up to Damon Huffman when he had some problems in the mud. It's to an advantage to be tall.
Well, you can put your feet down and kind of use them like little ski rudders right there. And you see how hard it is for him to reach the ground. He almost fell over right there, and Dowd goes by him in the whoop section to take over the number 2 spot.
There's DeHoop approaching Buddy Antunez. Antunez a little bit more cautious as DeHoop wants to get back into the running. And here comes Larry Ward. He wants a piece of the action.
Well, Larry is a little bit taller. You see him ride with his foot down all the way through there. He can just kind of ski on that thing, and it's sometimes easier for the tall riders. But, oh, Dowd goes down again.
So DeHoop moves into 2nd place. Our leader's having problems. Henry is down, but his lead was significant. Henry, DeHoop, and Dowd, and we'll be back right after these words. Welcome back to the 250 main at Texas Stadium. This is the battle for 2nd place. Todd DeHoop and John Dowd. Dowd just taking the edge in the whoops. Jan Beekes is with DeHoop's mechanic down in the pits. They're probably having just as much trouble identifying these riders as we are.
Mark, you're running 3rd right now. Is Todd pretty comfortable in these kind of conditions?
Yeah, Todd's from Michigan, and it rains there a lot. He practices this kind of slop a lot. I think he can keep it up. The hardest part to keep it up right now is in the whoops because they're so pointed and it's just real slimy. Everywhere else he's going pretty good.
Now, I saw on your board you wrote fight. What do you mean by that? You want him to get up and fight with Henry?
Yeah, I don't want anybody just to let anybody pass him. I want him to fight it out. I don't want him to give an inch. If somebody sticks a wheel in, I want him just to keep going at it hard.
Well, it's a great fight so far.
Yeah, I think so.
Lappers can be a big problem in this kind of weather. You've got to look ahead. Pick your line early.
Well, you just want to stay out of the roofs from those guys and try to keep your vision clean. And I like DeHoop's mechanic's attitude as far as being aggressive. And You know, the first time I ever rode in a really bad mud race, I was just trying to be so careful not to fall, and I ended up doing worse than I would have if I'd have just taken off and gassed it and been aggressive like McGrath is right here. You see him jumping through the whoops, taking chances, getting sideways. You get aggressive like that, you can fall 2 or 3 times and still go faster than the guys that are trying to be careful, and they end up falling anyway, so you're better off that way.
The crowd is right with Jeremy McGrath. He passed 2 riders, DeHoop and Dowd, in that one section. McGrath now has moved from 17th to 2nd in this race.
Well, I like the fact that he's getting aggressive. It probably took him a while to get into the flow of it, but when you get aggressive and start passing guys and keep it on 2 wheels, getting sideways, it actually becomes fun. And I think that's what we heard from Huffman, how fun it was out there. I can guarantee you that Henry's having a good time. Plus, this is his first Supercross win if he can keep it up.
Doug Henry is our leader, and McGrath now is in 2nd place.
I can't believe he's still doing the triple jump. That's amazing. Oh, Emmig's in the pits.
Emmig's in the pits calling for Steve Butler to come over.
It appears as though they're wiping off the throttle because he can't get a grip on there. If your hands slide on the throttle, you can't turn it. I've had that problem too. It's just, you see he's elected to go with no gloves. It's impossible for these riders. There's so many problems that you would just never think about until you actually get out there and experience it.
Here's Jeremy McGrath coming through the whoops. His helmet design a little askance.
Yeah, the cardboard is a little wet now. It kind of drooped over to the side. Actually, I've been in mud races that were so bad, and the mud stuck to our number plate so bad, I had to go through the scoring section and yell out my number every lap.
John Dowd, who's in 3rd place. He's looking for his first podium in the 250s. And I think that is Brooks from the Team Nolene.
Well, it's difficult to tell. Look at this.
Whoa!
Sucked up banners. See if that looks like John Dowd.
Yes, that is Dowd. Well, the banners in the rear wheel quite possibly wouldn't have the same effect in this kind of weather, would they?
Well, I don't think so. You're not relying on the rear brake as much as you do in the dry. Normally, that plastic will get in there and melt, and you have no rear brake at all. Right now, the speeds that they're traveling, I don't think you really need the rear brake.
It's like riding on ice when you get up on those hillsides right there. And Larry Ward's in for some adjustment.
It looks like they're messing with the clutch, and it's possible these riders use the clutch even more in the rain and the mud conditions. So he's possibly burnt that clutch up, and when you loosen the adjustment, then it won't slip as much, so you're able to get more power to the ground.
He didn't make any friends in the mechanics area taking off like that either. They got splattered.
They don't have a very good spot to watch from. And right there, Doug Henry still got his goggles on. He's still probably got some of that roll-off strip, able to go through and keep clean vision. You're only looking through about an inch-tall slot, but that's better than getting mud in your eyes. And speaking of vision, look at Larry Ward right here, who's ridden almost this entire race with no goggles. And I can tell you, he's got mud in his eyes, and it's just impossible to see.
That's Jeremy McGrath in 2nd place, coming up behind Ward. Ward now is in 6th spot, but Jeremy's about ready to lap him.
Jeremy's actually picked up the pace as the race wears on. If this race got longer and longer, chances are he could catch up to Doug Henry. Maybe. I think Doug's riding pretty well.
Henry's got about a 25-second lead. We'll be back in a moment. Back at Texas Stadium, Doug Henry way out in front. A good chance to win his very first Supercross in the 250s. We're watching John Dowd in 2nd, being pursued by Jeremy McGrath on the left. McGrath doesn't really take the line anybody else uses in front of him, that's for sure, even in the mud, David.
Well, it's even more important in the mud to stay out of the person's line, because all that mud shooting off the rear tire you see right there, and it just ruins your vision, and you can't see where you're going. And look at how tough it is for these guys to try to go through these. I mean, those are like cement underneath with this grease on top. So slick, and Dowd gets through there pretty quick, holds off Jeremy.
The rain has stopped. The problem there is it doesn't wash off the numbers. I wonder how the scorers are doing it.
Oh, it's pretty tough, but the scorers travel from race to race, so they can recognize these guys' riding styles, I think.
Henry in the lead as we see Dowd in 2nd, going through the deep ruts with the banners in the wheel. Surprisingly, we don't often see mud of this type, of this nature on the tour, but on our Honda Flashback, we take you back to Atlanta 1983, number 11, a friend of mine.
Well, I got the whole shot, but the problem was I was the first guy to find the deepest rut, and I found it right here. Watch this.
Ooh.
Stuck. I was stuck there for 3 laps, dropped all the way to dead last. Mark Barnett took over the lead, but it was Bob Hanna charging from a dead last place start to 2nd place.
Obviously before the Georgia Dome in Atlanta as he walks through the rut. I might